on Slack, like Eric Voss mentioned yesterday, immediately, like he'd be a great Johnny Storm. Is there an X-Men like he'd be better off playing? And I have to imagine in the back of their mind, Marvel's like, we've got to get him for something because James Gunn has his picture up on a wall somewhere.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the break room. I'm Brendan Barrick. Who cares? Joining me today, we have Maude Garrett.
Maude Garrett.
And we also have Hector Navarro.
Hi.
That was like 7 letters, that high.
Hiya.
Aussie.
Today we're going to talk about the Steven Yeun of it all.
Oh,
folks.
yeah. Steven
that's right.
Yeun and the MCU. Good graphic.
Great graphics, guys.
I really like up in the
New
front.
year, new graphics, folks.
People must be buying Good Riot.
Steven Yeun is no longer in the Thunderbolts, or so we've been told, but does that mean he's done with Marvel? Gosh, I hope not. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's.
So the word on the street, it was a long time rumor that Steven Yeun would be playing Sentry in the upcoming Thunderbolts film. In the comics, Sentry is a man named Robert
Reynolds. He goes by Bob.
It's kind of like a crazy story in the comics. He gets his powers through, you guessed it, the super soldier serum. When
are they gonna learn?
Well, it's like a weird thing where like he was like a meth addict or something, and he stumbles into this laboratory. He takes this stuff he hopes is drugs. It's not. It creates this like superpowered persona that also has like a dark side.
Yes, I really like
a dark
the
passenger
Void.
called the Void.
So this is kind of Marvel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is Marvel's Fight Club.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It could
Tyler
be
Durden
because it's yeah. I think that's a great observation. I feel like it's similar to we just saw Moon Knight explore dissociative identity disorder, and that's really more of Moon Knight's thing. But the Sentry is this interesting aspect where it's Fight Club. It's also kind of like a reshaping of reality because what Marvel did with the Sentry story is they said he was like the first or second superhero ever. That in Marvel Comics history, the first superhero team that appears is the Fantastic Four. And then right after that is pretty much the Hulk, Spider-Man gets bitten by a spider, Thor shows up on Earth, and it's this quick succession of like, and then the X-Men appear, and then right there in the early 60s comics, but basically if you read them today, it's supposed to have been like 13 years ago, 15 years ago, all the superheroes start appearing. What they did with Sentry is when he rediscovered his power, he had like amnesia this whole time.
He had been around.
He had discovered his power and he went, wait a minute, I showed up first and I became friends with the Fantastic Four. And because of my own power and my own mental instability and the void and everything, I basically wiped everybody's memory of my existence. I guess kind of like Peter Parker at the end of No Way Home, where like now nobody knows Peter Parker, and he had to go and reconnect as soon as like he came back on the scene. Everybody had like new resurfaced memories of like, oh yeah, Sentry.
Oh, yeah, I worked with you.
I worked with you. So he shows up to like Reed Richards, and Reed was like, "You're Bob. We were friends. I remember you." And I think part of the reason he did it was because he had the Sentry persona, who's basically like Marvel's Superman.
Yeah, he can do everything.
He has the power of 1,000 exploding suns. But the Void, who he thought was just a bad guy that he was fighting, he created the Void himself. He created the guy who would show up and be like, "I'm the Void," and he would just do like simple bank robberies, and he would stop him every time.
But had different powers completely.
Yes.
So the Void had
It's
like
him.
had some pretty gnarly powers as well. Like he could do what Dr. X could do. He can go into people's minds and change their thoughts. Like so he had like very devious ones, but then you had like the superhero, and this is all about balance. Because every time he did a good deed,
the Void would do something bad.
the Void had to do something bad.
And he
to
was
kind of
fighting himself, and so the whole point of the Sentry storyline, I think the point of those stories is to examine our mind and what we, our identity and who we are as people, and the good and the bad and the balance.
Something controversial.
Fight Club. Go ahead.
Well, this just reiterates the fact that I think that Captain America just needed to get laid.
He did eventually.
Okay, take me from that A to C, because you just went from A to C.
Yeah.
Where's the B in there, Maude? What about the Sentry conversation made you think of Steve Rogers not getting any?
Okay.
Talk us through it.
Okay, so this guy was a little squib guy. Like he was very picked on.
You talking about Steve Rogers?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep, from the get go.
A squib. He was born without
like,
magical powers from magical blood.
Thank you.
That's
And
how I'm
skinny
putting it
and
in.
98 pounds.
That's how the parallel you can
Got
draw
it.
the
Yeah, I
conclusion.
got you.
it.
Speaking full spectrum nerd here.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Uh-huh.
And then he finally gets to become a super soldier.
Yeah.
And Haley Atwell's finally like, doing love hard eyes a little bit.
She touches him.
Yeah, touches his boobie.
But then he's so busy being sort of like a weapon for America to save everyone.
Yeah.
And then he continually has to sacrifice himself. And then the end of his story is that he kind of said, "I just want to get laid."
Sure.
And then went back and experienced love.
Love. Okay.
Because I just felt like,
But mainly being laid.
anyone who can't swear or just, if they stub their toe, they can't just say, like I did now.
They're repressed and it's bad.
Yes.
Which is
Are
why
you need balance.
Which is why at the beginning of Avengers Age of Ultron, somebody says a cuss word and Steve goes, language, and they'll go, "Did you really just say language?" And he goes, "I know, man, it just came out." But at the end of that movie...
You're saying he goes into the ice?
Yeah, a little smooch.
This is a Sentry episode, but I have to address this.
Yeah.
You're trying to say he went into the ice a virgin.
Maude is ignoring...
Absolutely not.
Maude is ignoring what Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner said. Maude is ignoring that, and that's fine. That's her prerogative to do that, because Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, Hulk said
he went wild.
He lost his virginity to a girl in the USO tour in 1942. That's what Hulk said.
Yes.
Did you watch She-Hulk? You gotta watch She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
I watched the first 2 episodes.
Also, he obviously
At the
did.
end of the last episode.
He obviously did.
I don't know if it's obvious.
He had months. He had months when he was on his own on that USO tour with women constantly
and
throwing
looking like Chris Evans.
Yes.
You know what? You're not wrong.
But
You're not wrong.
belong to
And
Peggy.
not to mention, after he's out of the ice, he's doing it some more before he gets back to Peggy. Okay,
Right? Because
Doesn't even work.
him and Nat definitely hook up. Go back and watch Winter Soldier.
Because he gets out in
There's some eyes.
He gets out in 2011 and doesn't go back in time until the year 2023.
Right.
So
There's a lot going on.
I want to read his journals.
Nah, I want to
So
write
bad.
those.
I don't
journals.
think you want to read those journals.
I'd make them steamy and good to go. But I had a point a second ago. Hang on, I completely lost.
Well, I do want to agree with Sentry.
Yeah.
You mentioned Superman. Now, this might be apocryphal on my part, but it was kind of Marvel's answer to the popularity of Superman a little bit.
Yeah.
They wanted to create like a Superman type character. I don't know how much of that is real, how much of that is...
I can see it because Marvel and DC each have their own in-universe versions of each other's characters.
Yes, constantly.
I would love a whole episode on that one.
Yes, they provide, and why do they do that? Because Marvel writers and artists in the 80s wanted to tell stories that were sort of commenting on DC as a brand and those characters. And
DC Spider-Man.
DC's Spider-Man? Well,
Is it Nightwing?
I mean, I think there's an assassin called like Black Spider. I might be wrong. Who showed up in the cartoon show Young Justice, and because Young Justice was executive produced by Greg Weisman, he also did the show Spectacular Spider-Man, and in that show for 2 seasons, great show.
On Nickelodeon.
In Australia, possibly, but I think Spectacular Spider-Man was Disney XD.
Yeah, it was like XD
or I can't remember, but he was voiced by Josh Keaton, great voice actor. Josh Keaton then, as a cameo, voices this evil assassin spider character who's got similar powers to Peter Parker in the show Young Justice, the DC universe. So they made the direct connection right there. Josh Keaton also voices Steve Rogers, Captain America, in What If. Josh Keaton's a great heroic sounding voice, young sounding voice. He's great at that. But anyway,
that's why Hector's on the panel, everyone. I just
has,
want to make sure everyone's getting balance in the bedroom. But
that's
you are
important.
bringing.
Marvel has also had in the past, they've had a character called a team called the Squadron Supreme, which had characters like Hyperion and Nighthawk and Power Princess, who was like Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman. And they have these characters, I think the Wizard was like their Flash. So they had characters that are direct parallel so that Marvel can take the Marvel characters, brush them up against the DC characters, and they can tell a story about what does that mean?
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two brands, without actually having to go to DC Comics and go, can we use Superman in the Justice League? Because you can't. So that's why they did that. So Sentry, I think... But the Squadron Supreme exists in their own universe, separate from the 616, let's say the sacred timeline. So sometimes they'd have to do like interdimensional things. But the Sentry exists in 616. Right. So it's their Superman analog within the universe. They don't have to do multiverse shenanigans. Yeah. But you're right. Sorry, Hank. But you're right that they probably wanted a character that was that powerful. Yeah. But to say something more than just a Superman story which is mentally the Sentry's different.
I kind of like, if you have that much power, like a pair of glasses isn't going to fix it. You know what I mean? Like, I really love the notion if you're going to be that powerful, it comes with a consequence. So anyway, back to Sentry.
The bill comes due. The most important thing to note about Sentry is that it is producer Evan's favorite card in Marvel stuff, which is an unhinged.
Wow, we actually
look at them guys.
We actually have that as a graphic. That's impressive. Yeah, Evan's like, I got to get this to the team.
If you have that, if you play that card, it puts a -10 power void on your side. You got to have Viper to send that to the other side, or at least something to destroy that card.
See him again. So this is actually going to be good for casting. So he is a
This is
Blonde
comic
hair.
accurate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sentry. This is
Blonde-haired, racially, he's white, coded
Yeah.
as white. He's a white character, Bob Reynolds. I think his wife is also white in the comic books. His wife who like moved into Avengers Tower when he became a member of the Avengers. And yeah, he's a big beefy boy.
Big beefy boy.
You know,
He's
think
also
Superman.
isn't he middle-aged? Like before the serum, he was like quite an average person.
Maybe, but I don't know. You start to
Take
get
the
to
serum,
tricky-
everything changes.
Yeah.
Is Iron
don't
Man
age
middle aged, or is he always drawn to look like he's 29 years
Yeah, I
old?
don't
You know what I'm
know.
saying? I don't know.
He lived hard. He
depends.
did a lot of partying in his youth.
depends.
Now, in the timeline of this,
Philanthropy.
philandering and philanthropy.
Yeah.
So the rumors were around that Stephen Yeun was going to be playing Sentry. Then Invincible creator Robert Kirkman, during an interview for Invincible Season 2, seemingly confirmed that Yeun was Sentry in like just a random interview where he's talking about Invincible. He just kind of blurts it out. He's like, I'm okay to say that. Marvel can't do anything to me.
I have a picture of like, you know that that game that used to be at the arcade things where
Pinball.
golfers would pop out and you'd have to
Whack-a-mole.
eat it back. Yeah. That like Marvel has their own whack-a-mole of people who can't keep secrets. And it was like Peter Parker, what's his name? It was
Tom Holland.
It was Tom Holland for so long.
Yep.
And they're like trying to smack that one down.
Ruffalo.
And then Robert Kirkman comes back up. And it's like, no matter what, it's Ruffalo. It's so
Well,
great.
and it was-
Marvel's like,
Yeah.
At the end of the interview, Kirkman's like, well, Marvel can't do anything to me. It's like, my God, they can do something to your boy.
Yeah.
Kick him out of the
And
movie.
I feel bad because Robert Kirkman, I think he said in that interview, he goes, this has already been announced, right?
Yeah.
And the tricky thing is, the fault is the industry of entertainment journalism that picks up rumors from people on Twitter. Right. Like they're scoopers. And it's like, yeah, bam, but they haven't officially announced that stuff. And it could be wrong. And it could kind of mess people's careers up. And even if something like Hollywood Reporter reports it, I think they were the first ones to be like, we have an exclusive. Alfred Molina is going to be in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man No Way Home, he's coming back. And they were like, and so is Jamie Foxx. And they were getting some details, not wrong, but it didn't feel like they were getting the details right. Because Hollywood Reporter is just like, Jamie Foxx is back. He was in a Spider-Man movie before, and now he's in this one. And you're going, that was in another universe. What are you talking about? Make this make sense. Because Hollywood Reporter did not go, well, in this movie, Doctor Strange is going to open up a spell to different realities and have all those specifics. So there's these almost like rumor things that get announced, and you go, I have to wait for Marvel to put out an official press release. And if they even do it through a Hollywood Reporter, it muddles the water, because if Marvel is officially announcing Stephen Yeun is no longer this character, but it's Hollywood Reporter that's doing it on behalf of Marvel, then how are we to know the next time they report a rumor that it's also... So Kirkman was probably like, yeah, that's been online. He's the Sentry.
And it had
I'm
been
like,
online,
but not officially.
Confirmed.
It's not confirmed, dude. You can't.
And this was also, last fall. We're in the middle of a strike, right? There's not a ton of news. So there was more of that like rumory news, making it to established outlets like Hollywood Reporter and Deadline, where they can say Marvel has no comment on this. But here's
it's
what
still
we're
out
saying.
there. They're
So
still
it's
putting it out there.
Well, while we're waiting for the prompter, I want to ask the question: Thunderbolts as an entity, who can tell me what about it? I know, but like I want to pass the question on to stall some time.
Thunderbolts is a really great premise.
There we go.
That my favorite thing about the Thunderbolts is this: in the late '90s, Marvel Comics announced a new superhero team. A team called the Thunderbolts. They put out an image for issue 1, all new superhero characters, Citizen V and Tech and Songbird and all these characters. You're like, who the heck are these? I don't know. They're new superhero characters. They're going to show up. And people, they in the description, that's what it is. Then the issue came out. People went and bought it, read it. You get to the last page. You turn the page, and this new leader who's kind of a British or European version of Captain America. He kind of had like a stars and stripes on him, Citizen V. He takes off his mask, and it's Baron Zemo.
Heck yeah.
And all the other superheroes of this new team, they all take off their identities, and they're like, oh, we're previously like B or C or D list villains. We're now pretending to be good guys. And this was at a time when the Avengers were not around. The Avengers had like disassembled or disappeared into the Onslaught universe. We'll get to that later. But the point is the Avengers weren't around. These villains decided to take it upon themselves to lie and pretend they're good. And the whole story is, over the course of their story, as they start doing heroic acts, they start to realize...
Feels pretty good.
Feels pretty good. They're like, I want to be good. I don't want to be my bad guy self anymore. And characters, even like Zemo, even Baron Zemo, who was like, in the comic books, a Nazi or the grandson or son of a Nazi, and it's a little different in the MCU. He's like Sokovian. There's still, he was like the main guy whose idea it was, and he still eventually has like a character arc. And so that's the best thing about the Thunderbolts. if people don't know what the Thunderbolts is, and they're still the Marvel Studios is still planning to do this twist, which I think they could, even if the team is populated with like Bucky and Black Widow and Red Guardian and Ghost, maybe.
And that's who's confirmed in it for the moment.
For the moment.
Because David Harbour's signed back on for it.
And Wyatt Russell's going to be in it as his character, U.S. Agent.
Yeah, U.S. Agent.
Julia
Louis-Dreyfus is going to be in it, I think.
They have her in the image, yeah.
So I don't know if they're trying to put out a trailer and this is a new team, the Thunderbolts, and then you go to the movie and there's something like Zemo's behind it all. Or like, I have no idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, because everyone's like, where's Zemo?
Where's Abomination? Yes.
Because it does seem like right now, at the D23 2 years ago, I believe it was 2022 when they announced this one, they were like, it's all just basically super soldiers and Ghost. And they kind of, when they were talking about it on stage, were very much like, this is a like spy movie. They keep saying that because they want to recreate Winter Soldier somewhere.
But it's giving Mission Impossible.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Are you kidding me?
And
Mission
like,
Impossible meets Marvel, sign.
One of my favorite run of Thunderbolts was like later when they put Norman Osborn in front of it, in charge of it, and they were all pretending to be the Avengers.
That's
like
the best.
Norman was wearing the Iron Patriot suit. Bullseye was Hawkeye. Like it was great, and they were all they were the Dark Avengers. It was awesome.
Yeah,
great stuff.
Yeah.
And
Bullseye back?
I believe Suicide Squad was first from DC,
in
right?
comics?
In comics. So this again is like a thing where like, oh, we'll make a team of bad guys too. But I didn't know that how they were introduced. That's very
that initial marketing story. It's such a great marketing success.
Great.
I'm such a loser that I'm like championing the success of marketing.
That's good marketing.
Don't you talk about my friend that way.
So as of yesterday, the Hollywood Reporter is like, Steven Yeun is out as Sentry.
Yeah.
They seem to confirm that, and the reason they're giving is like scheduling conflict.
Sure, because
which makes
Thunderbolts was delayed.
It was supposed to shoot last year. Everything's been delayed. Steven Yeun probably has other things in the pipeline.
Beef.
Like,
have you guys seen Beef on Netflix?
Seen Beef on Netflix.
Are they doing season 2?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's got room in that story. It's felt
pretty wrapped up. I don't need more from that. I would love a Beef with just new characters.
Oh my God,
explore that the
amazing.
concept of anger and self-hate
it just
with other characters.
back to balance.
Well, a lot of the Beef team, Beef team is part of the creative team for Thunderbolts. So you might hear this story and think like, oh, Steven Yeun, he hated the script or he hates the director.
Right.
But it's not, because it's like the same team basically from Beef. Jake Schreier is going to be directing Thunderbolts. And they hired Lee Sung-jin to do a page 1 rewrite of the script.
Yeah.
And again, this was supposed to film last year. There was rumors that he'd done a costume test recently or like a fitting, but people get fitted. John Krasinski got fitted to be Captain America at one point.
Right.
Everyone goes into costume stuff.
Yeah. And you know what else I want to say too? This isn't, I'm not trying to compare, because this is a very unique situation, but the fact that like, I have to imagine Marvel Studios is really looking at, especially for some of these key characters. Now, is Sentry a key character? I don't know, maybe. Maybe. It depends on what they want to plan.
Yeah, how they do it, right?
Are you thinking something like Sentry Dynasty happening? Is that the...
No, what I'm saying is, to go to the Jonathan Majors of it, is that maybe they're holding off on announcing casting until the movie is shot, edited, and it's about to come out. Right. If there's a way they can do that. Because... I don't know, dude. I don't think that Steven Yeun, any news would ever come out from him per se. But I feel like casting used to be, hey, we just have to find the best actor for the role. But for these types of roles, now the pressure is, hey, we have to find the best actor for the role and kind of vet them and make sure they're like a good person.
Because we need them for 6 more movies.
Yeah, for like
play it for the next 15
a lot of movies and interact with kids, and it's a lot. It's a whole big job. It's a huge paying job. Yeah. And it sucks that somebody like Sarah Haley Finn, who's the casting director, has to care about that kind of stuff, but you kind of have to care about that. Like, if you're going to cast an actor to play a heroic person, even someone like the Sentry, who's like split down
borderline,
the middle, you got to...
Looking at you know,
I mean, honestly, dude, that's part of it. It's like, you got to... I don't know.
Yeah.
What can they do?
Well, that's why I encourage them to find some no-name people. Let's get some fresh faces in there of any age. Doesn't have to be young.
It poses the question, though... Who could be the new Sentry?
Well, there's multiple questions. Like, who could be the new Sentry? Do they keep doing Sentry?
Yeah, I don't know.
It sounds like there's been a script rewrite at some point. There was a rumor, not to get into rumors today, but like a rumor that they were casting for like a tech-powered team for the Thunderbolts movie. Now that could be like a mid-tier villain for like Act 1 or something.
He just said it! He just said it. He just said what was in the comics.
Yeah.
We know now.
And one of the characters was, God, I'm forgetting that. I think his name was Abner Jenkins, a.k.a. the Beetle, who was a crappy Spider-Man villain.
Okay.
And on the Thunderbolts, he was like Tech 4 or something, or Mach 4 was his character's name because he had a whole new suit and identity, and it was all still tech-based. And so Abner Jenkins was like, I don't want to be the Beetle anymore. Everybody shit on the Beetle. I want to be Mach 4. And he became this like flying robot superhero guy. It would be cool if they brought back, you remember Spider-Man Homecoming, the actor that played the Tinkerer?
Yeah.
The dude that just made stuff for Michael Keaton? Bring him back.
He's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Scorpion's out there just sitting around, just waiting to get out of jail.
I don't know. To answer that question, though, is like, I can see them using the Sentry character for a Thunderbolt story. I can also see them, you brought up a later iteration, the Dark Avengers.
Right.
I can see them holding Sentry until that.
Yeah.
Because the Dark Avengers, it's this great thing where after the Thunderbolts is around for a while, at one point even Clint Barton, Hawkeye, joins and tries to kind of put them on the straight and narrow. Like he knows that they're former villains, and Hawkeye's like, no, guys, like when I first came out on the scene, people thought I was a criminal as well, and I got arrested, and I fought Iron Man, but you can be good. And so he tried to fix them. Years later, after Captain America died, so right now in the MCU, he's retired. Steve Rogers is retired, at least. Sam is going to be Cap. Norman Osborn was trying to rehabilitate himself. The Green Goblin. I'm no longer the Green Goblin. I'm a legitimate businessman. Yeah, that's not my face. So he was the one who defeated the Skrull invasion, and he got to be put in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. And he changed it from S.H.I.E.L.D. to Hammer. Hammer. Somebody asked him, what does that acronym stand for? And he goes, I don't know. Get our R&D boys to figure it out. He had no acronym for Hammer.
But just like Hammer and Shield.
It's awesome.
It works well together.
It went from a shield to a hammer.
He had defense to offense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he found messed up criminals to disguise themselves as the new team of Avengers that were government sanctioned. And he himself that's where the Iron Patriot suit came from. He took an Iron Man suit, painted it red, white, and blue. He goes, now that Captain America's dead, I'm your new Captain America and Iron Man in one. I'm Norman Osborn. I'm a good guy. And what he also did is he recruited and manipulated Sentry. Norman Osborn, because with his own issues as his identity of the Green Goblin and Norman, talking to himself, he was like, I understand you, Sentry. I know where you're coming from. Yeah. I can help you. Don't you want to be your best self? And he put him on the Dark Avengers team even after the other good guy superhero characters like Tony Stark and Luke Cage and the rest of them were telling Bob, don't be on a team with Norman Osborn. He's a murderer. And Bob was like, I just want to do, like, he was manipulated by him. Yeah. So I could see them holding Sentry for something like that.
Right. Yeah. And I like your idea too, Hector, that like there's maybe a twist to this movie. I was thinking for a long time that this movie would get a new title at some point, and it would be like Thunderbolts versus like the Young Avengers or the X-Men or something like that.
Into that, because by the sounds of it, I mean, the way that we left Julia
Louis-Dreyfus's character, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
Thank you. She's collecting all of these characters, so she's like visiting each of them, just basically kind of like assigning them to a task force, right? And it sounds like it's going to be sort of David Harbour and what we saw in the Black Widow standalone movie. They're going to, obviously like, I don't want to go to jail. I didn't do bad things. We're okay. David Harbour's already got his suit, which is what I feel like the
Green Goblin?
The Patriot suit.
The
I feel like
Patriot?
that's going to be that instead, maybe, because they're already assigned to the Thunderbolts. You've got Florence Pugh. Happy birthday, Florence.
Happy birthday today. Happy birthday. Florence,
Yeah.
you're so cool.
No, I said it.
That's
I
true.
know, I'm riding your coattails.
Florence, if you're going to date anybody, it's got to be Maude, because she told you happy birthday first, but we're in support of your birthday. That's all we want to say. Happy birthday.
Wait, she already had a super old boyfriend. I don't need a
Whoa! Shots called. Sorry, Flo.
Sorry. Hey, anyway, so I think that Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, you said it, Contessa, she's going to be collecting all of these people, and they're going to be the anti-villains that are doing good.
Yeah.
That's what I think this movie's going to be.
It's also in a weird position for her because she's now the head of the CIA.
Yeah.
Which up until this point, she's been a shadowy figure in the government. She's now in a front-facing position.
As
she
we
can be
saw
hauled into Congress
in
very
Wakanda
easily.
Forever,
I think she's got a black
people
ops
know who
department.
the head of the CIA is.
She's got a black ops department.
Yeah, that's got to be what this is. Her Green Berets, right? I'm going to send them into destabilized countries, which will be interesting. They've said that like Brave New World and Thunderbolts are going to be kind of tightly connected. Like their stories are going to run into each other.
Okay.
This could all lead into
It makes sense.
Secret Wars or whatnot.
The Captain America political world and the Black Widow world, they're closer than, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange.
Right.
So it makes sense that those two films would be connected in some ways.
Now,
X-Men.
what about the
Do
X-Men?
you think X-Men would be?
We're not going to see them until 2028.
God.
They'll probably show up in Secret Wars somehow, but I think they're really slow playing that.
Yes, and here's just a real quick side pitch from me on the X-Men. I think that Marvel Studios is saying goodbye to the old Fox actors.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Deadpool,
when they
yeah.
get to their X-Men, I think they're going to do a teenager team. I think they're going to do a
They should go
small...
real
They're
young.
already doing that with Avengers.
No.
Young Avengers?
Yes.
All these young Avengers are old as hell.
But here's Young Avengers is yes, but picture something like see, to me, Young Avengers is the sons and daughters of already established Avengers characters, or they are the new sort of up and comers, and those characters are destined to be Avengers.
Yeah.
Like Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, Haley Steinfeld. I think that she's
Nepotism.
It's
it's
but she will be like on the main event. Like there may be a Young Avengers team.
They'll just be Avengers.
But they'll graduate.
Yeah.
But what about the end scene of the Marvels?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I think that Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, she's getting the young folks, and they're going to be a young Avengers.
Yeah.
And maybe at the end of that movie or story or show, Sam Wilson, Captain America, somebody's going to come up and be like, all right, we'll be with you guys. We'll train with you guys. You guys are on the squad, but you're like junior varsity and we're senior. And we will train you, but you're all in the Avengers family. The X-Men is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
They're a school. So I think they're going to do Peter Parker age, high school characters, at least at first, for the first movie. The second movie, that's where you bring in your Wolverines and your Storms. And we may see Halle Berry, and we'll say, goodbye, bye, Halle. Thank you so much, Halle. We love you as Storm. We loved you. Goodbye. But what I'm saying, when we eventually get to X-Men in the MCU, they're going to be little babies in high school. They're going to be Cyclops and Jean Grey and Beast and Iceman and Angel.
You remember the Phantom Menace? It's gonna be that.
It's gonna be
Here's
that.
Baby Boba Fett.
And then
Here's Darth Vader.
the next movie, they'll bring in like the upperclassmen or the older characters like Wolverine, who's going to be looking like he's 40 years old.
So we're going to fan cast the older Wolverine again?
If you want to.
Every
Who do you
day.
want?
Every day.
Who do you want?
Daniel Radcliffe.
He's a great Wolverine. I love that.
Yeah.
I love
He
that.
keeps
Make
saying
him
no,
5'6". Wasn't he 5'6", 5'4"?
Wolverine is 5'3".
5'3".
Very close. Yeah.
Otherwise known as
5'3".
my knee.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to Sentry, do you think is there a possibility that this was all a ruse and Stephen Yeun was never going to be Sentry and this was all, or they were never going to do Sentry? It was like a fake.
I think so. I think so. But I have to imagine that. Why did Robert Kirkman say that in an interview?
Right.
Well, it's because
no reason to say
it's
it,
because he saw it online.
Yeah.
Okay. If that came out online and we were just talking about the rumor mill, why didn't Stephen Yeun tell Robert at some point, "Hey, dude, I'm in that, but I'm not."
Yeah.
Why didn't he do that? And if Robert Kirkman knew that, then I think he wouldn't have blurted.
Right.
So I think there's a possibility that, he was never even Sentry, ever cast a Sentry ever. But I also think there's a possibility that it's legit.
I'm in the legit
Yeah.
camp.
Yeah.
I think it was happening. I think that this is simply a scheduling issue with 2 strikes and the pandemic
Could
and
be.
the writers and all that kind of stuff. And they're pushing back. And he's like, listen, I don't know if you've seen how good my acting has gotten in like the several other movies.
I'm a
and shows
hot
that I've done.
command.
Yeah, my
I don't have time to wait.
My schedule is busy.
Yeah.
It's a
Marvel
bummer.
can wait.
Yeah.
It's a bummer because I just saw Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
You gave it 2 stars.
Yeah.
You gave it 2 stars.
I did. 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5. And spoiler alert. I'm going to spoil it for you. Willem Dafoe's character is not in it.
Right.
Willem Dafoe was in the first Aquaman.
Yeah.
He played Volko, the advisor.
Did the spinning thing.
The spinning thing.
Tell him how to do
Willem
the spinning
Dafoe's
thing.
character is killed off in between movies. They wrote him dead.
That's never a good sign.
And then they
didn't do that to Amber Heard.
and they kind of gave the character played by Dolph Lundgren. I feel like they basically gave that character what would have been Volko's lines, because he's standing there like, well, what about this, Aquaman? And I'm like, that feels like that was going to be for Willem Dafoe's character. Right. But I think Willem had a scheduling conflict. I think he could not do Aquaman 2, and it sucks because if I were the people making Aquaman 2, I'd be like, baby, we'll wait for you. You're Willem Dafoe. But those machines are so huge, they cost tens of hundreds of millions of dollars. If Stephen Yeun booked something post-strike and Marvel was like, okay, we're ready to shoot the Thunderbolts, and Steven's like, dude, I can't. I have to do this thing. He cannot be the sole that they're like, listen, man, we loved you as Sentry. Like, you were going to be our guy, but we got to go. We got to move. All these other crew members, actors are depending on this. We have to go. We're going to have to cast it to somebody else. But maybe that leads into this part 2 of like, maybe Steven can be, because like I have to imagine that's the, like, I don't think that Marvel, they didn't wait for anybody unless it was James Gunn being fired from and then coming back to Guardians. And really because Guardians Volume 3 wasn't that tied into everything else. They didn't need that domino to fall into place.
It could go in wherever it needed to go.
They were like, we can wait. We'll wait a couple years. Go do Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, come back, you know.
Yeah.
But Stephen Yeun is not directing this, and and they need Thunderbolts to line up to Captain America probably.
Right. And I think if they have, if Sentry was a one and done villain for a movie, I think there's better uses of Stephen Yeun, and we'll get into that in a second. But first, we want to remind you to check out nerdriot.shop for a ton of great merch. Hey, did you know this? Echo comes out next week.
Oh,
And you wouldn't know it. And would you?
You wouldn't know it.
And wouldn't you know it? Check out our Echo-themed merch. Dashiell, show the graphics, baby. Booyah. Who's the monster? I'm the monster. It was me.
Oh, is that
Vanessa.
Echo?
That's
in
Echo
American
in
Sign Language?
ASL.
That's
Right.
so cool. And it's all bloody knuckles.
Yeah. And we still also have like Loki merch mugs.
Can I?
Things
Oh,
like
that's
that.
dope. Can I say something
We still
about?
have a Doctor Strange shirt. You can get a Doctor Strange shirt.
Ooh.
Keep folding it down. Whoa.
Oh.
My sister just sent me a TikTok.
Yeah?
I want to talk about Echo and Daredevil for a second. My sister
Okay.
just sent me a TikTok of a woman who's blind and using a cane, and she's walking across a bench, like a park bench, and then she kind of comes to the end, and then she taps the next little gap of the park bench, and then she kind of hops to it and keeps going. And the guy filming her is kind of chuckling. He's like, "What are you doing?" And she's kind of laughing. She's like, "I'm doing Daredevil shit." And she keeps doing that. And it's funny. She's funny, but it honestly almost choked me up because I was like, holy shit. It's true. When Daredevil came out as a character in the 60s as a blind superhero, and some people thought it was going to be offensive, the blind community actually rallied. And they're like, no, we think this is cool. I think it's so fucking cool that there's an Echo shirt with the ASL that
great.
spells out Echo.
Hector's
That I'm like,
tearing up again.
that I'm like, I hope that somebody who is deaf could see that and think that that's cool.
I love that.
That's so great.
That is great, Hector. You're right. And grabbing a tee from nerdriot.shop is a great way to support the Breakroom. Woo! So either click the link in the description below, or head on over to nerdriot.shop and check it out for yourself. I will say too, in that same vein, I really appreciate it was Netflix's Daredevil show that they really up-leveled the audio description feature on shows. Oh. That was one of the first shows to have really good audio descriptions.
So that a blind person could listen to the show
and instead of being like Daredevil walks down the hall, it's like Daredevil creeps down the hall. You know, that really set off that trend. And then we see, you know, it
Barbie.
just grows.
You see Barbie the ASL?
Barbie has an ASL on Max.
Love it.
Prey gets a whole translation into a native language.
Yeah.
Episode of What If is all done in like the Mohawk language. Like,
so
beautiful
cool.
stuff. Guys, let's be better. We can all be better. What is Hank doing in here? Hank is like just vibing in the desk right now.
Everything you just described, it's like they spared no expense.
Spared no expense.
Life.
You gotta watch us on Twitch for that
one.
Ian Freeze! So let's talk about Steven Yeun some more, because that's our topic for today. I think there's better use for him in the MCU. Even when it was kind of like, he's going to play Sentry out, my first result was like,
Yeah.
Is that the best use of him? Now, Marvel has surprised me a ton of times with characters I was not excited to see.
Nebula.
They were done great.
Peggy Carter.
Nebula. Most of the Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like not
You didn't
really
like
hyped for.
Peggy's casting?
No, I loved. I'm saying
Yeah.
their casting is amazing,
Right.
but the characters from the comic books, I didn't have an attachment to Peggy Carter. I didn't have an attachment to Nebula, daughter of Thanos, and then Karen Gillan starts playing her, and they start writing this story in the movies, and I'm like, Nebula is one of my favorite Guardians members now.
Yeah. I loved Baron Zemo in the comics, but he's way better in the MCU.
Oh.
I love what they do with him in the MCU.
Okay.
Now, I think
Little dance.
I think Steven Yeun not doing Sentry is a great thing. And it could be an even better thing.
Okay.
Because I think there's better use for him in the MCU somewhere else where, like we were saying, especially if the Sentry is just like a one and done type villain, which they are known to do. On Slack, like Eric Voss mentioned yesterday, immediately, like he'd be a great Johnny Storm, which I think is like a very strong casting move for them. Like putting Steven Yeun is like a hot commodity right now. You were just saying it. His acting is incredible. Beef was great. Minari, incredible. The trailer from Minari brought me to tears constantly. I love the idea of putting him in a hero role somewhere where he's got, you know, let's sign him on for 3 pictures right at the top. Is there an X-Men like he'd be better off playing?
Yeah.
Right? All of those options are great. And I have to imagine in the back of their mind, Marvel's like, we've got to get him for something because you know James Gunn has his picture up on a wall somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if he was smart.
Yeah.
And he is, so he probably does.
The role of Sentry would be really, really incredible for any actor.
Yes, it's a great
The duality of it?
Yes, it's a great
Now,
acting
do you think
role.
the Void is just going to be a CGI, they're mocapping and providing a voice, or do they do like some kind of practical effect?
If they were smart, now people would disagree with this with varying degrees of success, but look what they did with Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. Gore looks very Voldemort in the comics. Very like
he's got tentacles,
like, graphic and very otherworldly, and could have been pure CG.
Right.
but they were like, we want to see Christian Bale's face, and I think that was a good call. And so I like the makeup they designed on that.
Right.
If they were smart, they would have the Void be a similar thing. Maybe it's
unless it is like your Fight Club where you don't know it's two separate people.
Well, you don't
and so
know.
you have to have two completely different actors.
I'll say this. Not a lot of people know this, but in the movie Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch played Doctor Strange, but he also at the end of the movie he voiced Dormammu.
Yeah.
He was and I think they did mocap on his head, and he like, what? What is that? That was him as Dormammu. So maybe the Void could be something where it's a great acting opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Cumberbatch was Smaug.
Smaug.
And you know, he's getting all into it.
Yeah,
and
he's like,
you really can't tell when you watch the movie that you know that's there. But the Void could be another cool CG motion capture thing, but you can still kind of see the performance through.
Yeah.
And they disguise the voice, and at the end, the twist is the Void is the same actor who plays the Sentry. They could do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would imagine if you're doing Sentry in the Thunderbolts and the Void thing,
Yeah.
do you wrap up that problem by the end of that movie? Or like, well, we didn't fix the Void problem.
Yeah, 'cause he's
the
too
Sentry and the
powerful.
Void will be back in Avengers 5.
Yeah, he's too. It's like you're right. He's too powerful. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's a better use of Steven.
Do you agree with Eric? Do you think it should be Johnny Storm?
I think he'd be an excellent Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm's young. Johnny Storm's
Well,
young.
if you want to do it that way,
Yeah.
I want young Sue.
I
and
think a 40-year-old
Reed.
Johnny Storm would actually make
I want
the
an
character
older
a little
Johnny.
sadder. If I
Sadder?
He seems like a frat boy.
He's having like a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
He's going through his
He's
mistakes
like,
phase.
he's
but
like, Sue, I had a divorce, but this
Yeah.
fire is great.
Yeah.
I'm loving this.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, that's just my
Sue's
opinion.
constantly like, Johnny, you're 40 years old.
Yeah.
Sue, I'm Tinder now, baby. Boom. And he lights
like-
on fire.
Dashiell
Sue like that one.
Sis, I'm hot. I'm hot shit. Okay, everybody loves me.
Literally.
And you're just
Whoa,
like,
whoa. I say bring back Chris Evans as Johnny.
no.
I love Chris Evans as Johnny
Great.
Storm.
It's great.
Him and Chickless were the best.
Now,
Yes.
let's say Gunn
Best of that movie.
gets there first.
Yeah.
Marvel's
Just
dropped the
development.
ball.
Well,
Marvel,
honestly, hang on. Before we get
Okay.
to DC for a second, I do want to mention that Stephen Yeun as Johnny Storm, if they're doing an whatever age Stephen Yeun is, because I mean, Asian don't raisin. We know this, right?
Right,
Black
right.
don't crack, Asian don't raisin. He looks great for his age. I don't know how old Stephen Yeun is. If you told me he was 33,
I think he's 62.
if you told me he was
Stephen Yeun's 40.
yeah, I'd be like, yeah, I believe it. If he's Johnny Storm, I want Susan Storm to also be an Asian woman, and it's
Don't do the adoptive.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
because I understand
It was a good attempt. There was an attempt.
I think it was I think it was a bad attempt. I think
Yeah.
it was Hollywood using the excuse of, well, you know, adoptive families are real families.
Right.
And you go, yeah, don't pull that shit on me. Don't make me feel like an asshole. I know this.
Yeah.
Do a story about an adoptive family. Don't do a story where you're still justifying hiring a white woman because you're like, we got to have a hot white woman on the poster.
Right.
And her brother's Michael
Or
B.
make
Jordan.
Reed Richards a person of color. Or Ben Grimm. Well, Ben Grimm would be a problem because then you
He's
just change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's an orange.
He's orange most. But honestly, the Fantastic Four and their ethnicity, their race is. I wouldn't say it's an issue, but it's something that should be taken into consideration because it is 4 characters. 3 of them are visibly you see their faces all the time,
Yeah.
and then the Thing, Ben Grimm. For the Thing, I feel like number 1 is you just got to get a Jewish guy.
Yeah.
That's because the Thing is Jewish. Like he's
yeah.
the main Jewish superhero. Very key. But if you want to have the Storms be Asian, do it. I even wouldn't want to have Jessica Alba, who's a Latina actress. They gave her the blue contacts and dyed her hair blonde. I'm like, don't even do that.
Yeah.
If he's Johnny Storm and they hire like Constance Wu to be Susan Storm, let her look like Constance Wu. I don't give a shit. Don't try to make it line up, and you know what I'm saying? That doesn't matter as much.
I say let Gemma Chan do it. Give her a third
I
character.
give a
Oh
third
my
MCU
God.
character.
Give her 10 of them. I love Gemma Chan.
She's really great.
She's amazing.
So yes, I mean, you brought up like, well, then maybe Reed could be a man of color, and
Right.
if the Storms are still white and blonde and sort of their classic look, and
Yeah.
there's so many variations and different opportunities there.
You go back to the original Avengers lineup in the MCU. It's pretty white.
It's
It's like
because Nick Fury's there, but he's not on the team
yeah.
technically.
When they
He's
do the
you know,
panning shot in Avengers,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the green guy, I guess. At least there's a
Diversity.
woman. They did something.
So they can take that into consideration. I'm just again saying, like, if it's Steven as Johnny Storm, Susan, I want her to also be an Asian woman and to have that Asian representation, the brother and sister. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Was someone else in the previous show saying that he would make a really good Nightwing?
Well, yeah, I was saying that if James Gunn
I
Yeah.
can see him in that.
is trying to pull him into the
DC world.
DC,
I agree with that.
Put him in as
I agree
Nightwing.
with that.
What a great Nightwing.
Yeah, but
I
like
agree.
we're talking again, he's 40, so this isn't
Yeah.
just like I'm sick of being in Batman's shadow. This is, oh my god,
Yeah.
I've been doing
Established.
my own.
I've been
stuff,
Nightwing for
and this
years.
is killing me, which is the truth of it all, really.
Yes.
Oh,
It's like, Damien, you
Dick's
gotta get out of
story's
here.
Great.
Yeah.
Dick's story is great.
Yeah,
One of my favorites.
He's one of my favorites.
Wait,
I used to have a poster of him on my wall.
Really? Was he turned around so you could see his butt?
No, but I know exactly the one. If I close my eyes, I can see it.
did you call in to get Jason killed?
No, I'm not that horrible.
Plenty of people did.
And Maude also wasn't born until 2002, so she wouldn't have been
that's
able to
true.
call in
Right.
in the 80s to
What
get
is
Jason
that?
Todd killed. That's a phone.
No.
It used
phones
to
are
be
like
this.
this.
Wow.
Phones are like this. I swipe.
Oh,
I
you young
swipe.
whippersnappers.
I swipe. I've never seen a phone like this.
An established Dick Grayson would be great, but then that does pose the question of like, well, then does Bruce Wayne like 60? Because damn, how
60.
make him 60? Who cares?
Yeah, when
he's on steroids.
George Clooney.
Yeah,
Hugh Jackman's like 60. You're telling me he couldn't be Batman? Is Hugh Jackman 60?
I think
gotta be close,
58,
right?
I want to say. Dash,
use
can
your
you
Australian
confirm or deny?
senses.
Yeah.
How old is Hugh Jackman?
50. I'm 58. 57. 54.
Any other DC characters you guys think Steven would be
54.
great at?
55.
Very nice. Very
He's
nice.
close enough. He's close
55.
enough.
Very
If
nice.
you add them together and
close
divide it by my 3
Um,
guesses, it's still older.
Any other DC characters other than Nightwing?
Interesting. I mean, Hank, do you have an opinion, Hank?
Oh.
Hey, this dog is in love with me.
You could bring him in. I mean, put him in as a villain in the DC universe.
They have some of the best villains.
Yeah, they do have some good
know.
villains.
That's why I'm
I
excited
mean, I
about
hate to say
Thunderbolts.
the J word, but he could be a Joker. Let
Yeah.
everyone be a Joker at some point, right?
That'd be really good. There's just
Already.
there's a whole list of characters, but Steven, he's so good at vulnerability.
Yeah.
He can make me cry. He's so good when he was on The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
His voice acting in Invincible.
So good.
So
That's the
good.
thing. He may be 40, but he's playing a teenager.
That's true.
He's playing
That's true.
successfully
So
a
he has a
teenager with that
youth.
voice.
He has a real young energy.
And there are people who are like, oh, put him in a live action Invincible. He's too old to
I
be
agree
a
with
live
that.
action
I
Invincible.
agree that he's too old for that. I think that that's a great opportunity to bring in like an unknown 19-year-old
Yeah.
Asian Korean American kid to come in and play. Like that would crush. That would be awesome. Because as much as I'd love to see J.K. Simmons play Omni-Man, I think he's too old. He's jacked.
Yeah.
He's
He's
certainly
got very
look
jacked.
jacked, didn't he?
We all
Certainly
saw the
jacked
Tomorrow
enough.
War, and we were like, what happened?
He is-
What?
he's certainly-
Also, why did we watch the Tomorrow
I
War
don't know. J.K. Simmons is the most ripped Commissioner Gordon
of all time?
of all
Say that to
history.
Gary Oldman's face.
I'll say it to Gary.
I
Oldman's
think
face.
Gary
Right.
Oldman would agree with that.
Gary Oldman would be like,
He would be like, you know what? I've never seen a gym.
It's not part of his process.
You know that Gary Oldman was married to my second cousin for like 13 years?
I did know that.
Whoa.
No, I didn't.
I did not know that.
There you go. Yeah, you know.
Cool.
You didn't.
Why would I know that?
I know that you also have a famous band member in your family.
Yep. My uncle.
Yeah. An Australian band member. I knew
okay.
that.
Have you heard the band Midnight Oil?
Midnight
You
Oil.
wouldn't have because you were born in 2002. They were big in the late
Are they on
80s.
Spotify?
Yeah.
I
You know, I
almost.
found out that their first song, like the number one song, has like 257 million listens.
Oh,
There you
wow.
go.
So they got
Yeah.
about
They've made
14
$50.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
That's a Weird Al joke,
That's
but
great.
you know,
It's true
he's right
though.
to say it. Here's the thing about casting in the DCU. I feel like it's so big and it's too big right now. I can't even think about, I need to see Superman Legacy. I need to see, I don't know what the direction of the whole thing is going to be right now. Am I going to say, I think Steven would make a great Swamp Thing? Yeah, he probably could. He'd be awesome at that. It's all
With vulnerability in that one.
vulnerability
Yeah.
for Alec Holland, and then he gets turned into Swamp Thing. But I'm just like,
You want to see the face.
it's such a it's easier for me to cast in the MCU because I know what's at play.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I
They're
know
not
what
wiping the slate clean.
I know what hasn't been done yet. I know what Steven could kind of do. Like it's just easier for me to plug that in.
All right, so Steven, phase 6.
Yeah.
Where you see him?
I came up with two.
Okay.
One that I saw, I came up with. I still am going to go for Andy Samberg,
4.
but Nova.
Oh,
Richard
as a
Rider
Nova?
Nova. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I would like Richard Rider Nova to be a little bit more comedic, and I want the Sam Alexander Nova, who's the young kid, to be kind of the main Nova, almost like a Kamala Khan, Carol Danvers relationship. But I think Stephen Yeun could play a character like Richard Rider Nova, this sort of like main character type of a thing going forward. And in the cosmic side, I also came up with maybe the most prominent Asian superhero in Marvel right now is Amadeus Cho Hulk,
Yeah.
the totally awesome Hulk. And Amadeus Cho starts out as kind of a kid character.
Is he too old to be Amadeus Cho?
No, because Amadeus Cho's mother is supposed to be in Avengers Age of Ultron. She's the young
Yeah, she's
doctor
the-
who's like in 2 scenes. I think her name
Makes
is
the Vision.
I think her name is Helen Cho.
Right, it
and
is.
she makes a joke about wanting to go to Thor's party because Thor's going to be there because she has a crush on Thor. And I'm like, at that point, could she not have a son that's already like 12, 15
could
years
totally have
old?
a son.
And then that movie's set in 2015.
Right.
And in the MCU right now, we're in 2026. 2020, going into the year 2026.
Yeah, 2025,
So
2026.
Amadeus Cho could be 26 years old, 25 years old,
Yeah.
could be 30. She could have had it already, maybe a 20-year-old son. Asian don't raisin. I don't know how old Helen Cho is supposed to be.
Yeah, we don't
She's
know.
a doctor.
Yeah.
So she's done
Yeah.
at least 9 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least admit
Absolutely. And she was also like an expert in her field. But then again,
Right.
geniuses can be very young, like Amadeus Cho is going to be.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my pitch. Is just like,
I like
he
that.
could be the Hulk of a kind of a new generation going
Sure.
forward.
Sure, we're gonna have a ton of Hulks in the
I want someone called the Totally Awesome. What was
Yeah,
it?
totally awesome Hulk.
Yeah, that's got to be Stephen Yeun for sure.
Right? I think he could do that.
He would
I
be
can
good.
see him saying
Yeah.
that.
He
I'm
would be
totally
great.
awesome Hulk.
I say get him in the MCU. Don't let this slip by.
Okay.
I know they're waiting so long to put in X-Men, but
Yeah.
like any
Cyclops?
options. I was thinking Cyclops immediately
Yeah.
for him.
I did too,
Also,
but that's too serious.
let him be Gambit. Make him do a Baton Rouge accent. Let's have a little Mona Me.
Ah.
This guy knows what I'm talking about.
Can I see him
Let him be Professor X.
shuffling some cards?
Let's
yes,
shave his
I
head.
can.
Let him be Rogue. Let's have a male Rogue. Why not?
Let's go full rogue.
Let's
I'm
go
still,
full
I'm
Rogue.
still
with
going.
Rogue.
I'm still rooting for Kiki Palmer as Rogue.
Oh, I
but
like
she's
that a
that's
lot.
a
I like
a
that a
male
lot.
rogue.
That's stuck.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think he could be. I think they could take a character like in the comics. There's a Japanese X-Men character for a hot minute, Sunfire. He's from Japan, and I'm like, you could do that, or you could do. I know that Stephen Yeun is Korean. You could do like he's like a Korean American character, or he could be in terms of the X-Men world. I mean, Cyclops, yeah, but again, I'd like them to be teenagers.
Is he too young to be Doctor Doom? We know they're going to sneak in a Doctor Doom
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think so. And too nice.
Especially if Pedro Pascal is.
He doesn't
is
have
Reed
that full
Richards.
villain face.
Doesn't have that energy. I want to root for Stephen Yeun. I don't want to root against him.
Well,
you
maybe
know?
we root for Doctor Doom in this universe.
No.
Because Latveria has been done dirty.
No.
No, I don't know if he's going to do it. Rumor is the internet right now is going, Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer is Dr. Doom. And I'm like, I'll root against Cillian Murphy. I've done it before and I'll do it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
But I don't want to root against Stephen. I
Yeah,
want to.
peaky fucking blinders. Yeah. As long as he does the thing with the cigarette.
What about Stephen Yeun as Mr. Sinister?
Oh,
X-Men
now,
villain?
John Hamm is my Mr. Sinister.
What?
To the day I
Why?
die. That's what it was going to happen. That's what was going to
John
happen.
Hamm?
John
I say
Hamm has
something?
said.
Can I say
He
something?
had conversations about it.
I'm not the person to say this because I'm not a. I'm not a member.
I think that was shot. That rumor was shot down that they actually shot. I think he said in a follow up interview because he gets asked all the time by the nerds about it. Like, were you gonna be Mr. Sinister? I don't think they ever did like a makeup test or anything. But I will say in this season of Fargo, he's great, very menacing, very evil, and he has nipple piercings, which makes me think.
Okay.
His character, for whatever reason, has his nipples pierced.
Here's what I was
Even
gonna
though
say.
he's like a hard right.
Bro, you just
sheriff.
threw me. You just threw me because I was gonna say I'm not the person to say this. I'm not a member of the LGBTQ plus community, but I've always felt like Mr. Sinister was kind of like
He's a
right, like a very
he's
fabulous character.
yeah.
Gay coded.
Gay coded.
Yeah,
So I'm
a
like,
lot of,
if it's,
like,
I think it would be great
The
if
makeup and the cape.
a member of the community,
leather.
an actor could play that character. But now that you just told me that John Hamm had like nipple piercing, then this
He has
this
it in
Fargo.
If you're not watching this season
All
of
right.
Fargo,
I
it's
watched
great.
the first episode. It was amazing. I have to get
It's
back
so good. You don't have to watch all of Fargo's an
No.
anthology. You can skip a lot of those seasons.
like
First
the
two
other
seasons are
ones.
great.
Yeah.
The last season was not great. This season is very good. Check it out. John Hamm.
What was the last season? Was that the one that was in the
That was
past?
the Chris Rock season.
Oh, I saw that one. I think
I didn't like that one as much.
Who else
It was-
in that?
I forget.
Exactly.
the lady who played the evil nurse. She's good. She's been in stuff.
Nurse Ratchet?
No, not
From
that
One
nurse.
Flew Over the Cuckoo's
in
Nest?
Fargo season, what is it? 3? It's
Another
set in the
nurse.
past.
This is 5 right now.
Oh, so maybe I'm
The
thinking
last
of
one-
4.
I don't know. Guys, this
Whatever.
is a great conversation, I think.
Anyway.
We're having a great time.
Who do I think
Yeah,
should be
Marvel.
Yeah,
cast
who do you
as
like?
Sentry
Oh,
in Stephen Yeun's place?
Oh, yeah, let's say they're keeping Sentry. Who
Yeah.
do you want to play
Keeping
Sentry?
Sentry. It's just a scheduling conflict. When you do look at the comic, there has been not rumor mills, but people are projecting some ideas. Alexander Skarsgård. at the
Oh,
top of
okay.
the list for a lot of
Okay.
people.
I like that.
Really honing in on that tall, sort of middle-aged man who could
Here's-
be broken.
here's
who
a
could
one-
do very nice and sweet, and who can also.
that's
do-
true. Here's the one wrench I'm going to throw into that.
He's been cast as Murderbot, and that's actually gotten a bit of an outrage because Murderbot is it's like a sentient
Who is
program.
Murderbot?
Alexander Skarsgård.
Weird choice.
I know, because that character in the books, I interviewed the author,
Yeah.
was purposely written without any identifying features, including
Gender.
race and
Yeah.
gender.
Yeah.
And then they got
Interesting.
Alexander Skarsgård.
Who's the manliest man?
Cis man.
Yeah.
Who's very blonde-haired and blue. I can't have that argument. I can't make that
Let
argument.
me throw another wrench too for him playing Sentry. You're very good at an American accent.
He's not.
He's not, right? That's not just me. No. I don't think he is. I don't think he's great at an American accent.
You can still hear his European accent.
Yes. So I need a guy named Bob Reynolds. I need him to sound he's from
meth addict Bob Reynolds.
I need him to sound like he's from New York from like 15 years ago. Bob Reynolds.
And
then turns into the Sentry.
Here's my pitch for the Sentry.
Very Superman.
I'm going with like a white male blonde.
Sure.
Fella.
Don't say Henry Cavill.
No, absolutely. No, though he would be an interesting choice. Boyd Holbrook. I love Boyd Holbrook.
Bro, Boyd Holbrook
in the new
Indiana Jones.
He was also in Logan.
He's
in Logan.
Yes.
He's killer in Logan.
Yes.
He's in this most recent Justified City Primeval. He is great.
He's like the Charlie Hunnam adjacent.
Well, he's a better actor than Charlie Hunnam. No offense.
Oh, take that, King Arthur.
No offense to Charlie Hunnam.
That guy
That's
could
not Charlie Hunnam's
do
fault.
an Irish accent to save his life. Could he?
Supposedly, Charlie Hunnam, because he was playing Jax for so long on Sons of Anarchy, it fucked up his natural accent doing that California accent for so long. It kind of fucked up his regular accent, and now he's kind of all over the place. Anyways, Boyd Holbrook is great, and he is like a man of 1,000 faces.
Yeah.
Like, he is so menacing in City Primeval.
Yeah.
Really great. I think he would be a great Sentry.
Great choice.
He's not super buff, but I don't think you need to be super buff.
He's a big boy.
Another one, and this is an actor that's actually gone on paper. Someone did a fan casting with him as the role of Sentry, and he posted it on his Instagram in a bid to get that role.
Was it Hector?
It was Hector. Let's bring out the photo.
I don't know how I feel. Sometimes I love it when actors do that, and other times I'm like, you're thirsty. You're thirsty.
Well,
don't Dashiell, do not.
Thirsty rhymes with Hursty, and his name is Ryan Hurst.
Oh, here we go. Thirsty thespian.
Hey. Who's Ryan Hurst?
Now, is it Hurst or Hurst? I'm going to need a fact check on this one because I read it this morning. He was also on Sons of Anarchy, but he's a 47-year-old guy.
Oh.
So this is the whole plea of Bob being middle-aged, being very average, who stumbles upon the soldier serum and then all of a sudden has the power of 1,000 suns. 10,000 suns.
Now,
to the nth degree.
Could
we got a picture of him? I'm just
look him up right now. Look him up right now.
Now, could Sentry be like a good way to retcon in like the Fantastic Four? If they go with the Sentry and they go with the story of like the Sentry was around in the 80s and the Void wiped everyone's memory, right? If that did happen, maybe there were the Fantastic Four and we don't remember them because of the Void. That's sloppy and I don't like it, but they could do it. It's sloppy, I don't like it.
It's giving phase 6.
I was thinking about it, and I was thinking that maybe they're going to postpone, because Thunderbolts comes out before Avengers Secret Wars, correct?
Yes.
That maybe
that's the end. Secret Wars is the end.
Secret Wars is the end. There's nothing post Secret Wars right now.
Nothing that's like on paper.
Been announced.
Shang-Chi 2 is like after.
So I was thinking maybe they could do after Secret Wars, and there is a universe reset. That's where the Sentry comes in and goes, I was here since right after Iron Man first debuted.
You guys just got here, but I've been
in 2008. I first appeared in 2008, right after Iron Man did on the West Coast, and I'm flying around New York, and I would, but everyone forgot about me. I think that would be cool because that really doesn't take away from because the Sentry wasn't actually a comic book character in those old comics in the 60s, right there. Look, that I pointed at the pillar.
Didn't exist.
The Sentry was not there. The Sentry is a creation that came out in like 1999 or 2000 or 2001, and they retroactively inserted him like a Forrest Gump digitally into these kind of older thing. I love that idea. So do that, but don't do it to all of the Fantastic Four. I feel like Fantastic Four needs to be legit when they first show up.
Number one on a lot of these casting lists, they're saying Henry Cavill should do this.
Of course, because we have no imagination. Because Henry Cavill played Superman, so immediately the internet goes to, the Marvel version of Superman is Hyperion in the Squadron Supreme. Henry Cavill should play Hyperion, and then they should get Ben Affleck to play Nighthawk, and then they should get Gal Gadot to play Power Princess, and it's just like that's never gonna happen. Don't do that.
Don't do it.
But if people want more Henry Cavill, let them.
I can't encourage that.
I speak on behalf of.
I'm okay with
Henry
Cavill playing Sentry.
I wanted to play Doctor Doom.
No, if Henry Cavill is himself in the movie, and he's addicted to meth, and he stumbles onto the formula.
He's actor Henry Cavill.
Yeah, he's actor Henry Cavill.
Gets the power of. No, I mean,
honestly,
and
it turns out it was the Void that got him fired from The Witcher. It was the Void that got him.
I would almost
Sherlock. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
I would almost rather. I don't know who I want Cavill to play. if I want Cavill to be in the MCU, because I feel like it's too distracting because he was Superman. I think that after James Gunn resets everything and we get an actor playing Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and everybody, I think that that's going to be more likely to have a Marvel DC crossover.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just have, Marvel characters actually meet Superman. I don't want them to have to do the thing of, isn't that cheeky? This actor who plays the DC version of this is now over. I'm like, that's dumb.
Don't be cheeky with me.
Okay. Who do you think could be Sentry? Let us know in the comments.
David Cornsweat.
What a pull. What a pull. What a pull. Well, that's it for us today. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right here on YouTube. And check us out on Twitch, where we do these shows live. And you can see all the stuff we cut out for YouTube.
My gosh, we spoke about Jurassic Park for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
20 whole minutes.
It's two.
Oh my God, we all did our own dinosaur impersonation.
awesome.
We're going to go back to it. Don't worry.
It was awesome.
Does anyone want to plug their socials? I'm feeling generous today.
No.
Maude Garrett, follow me.
Great. And be sure to follow at Breakroom NR on Twitter and Instagram and X and Threads. We're on Threads.
Yeah? Nah.
And Twitch and wherever else we might be. We'll catch you next time. Late escape is goodbye.